When people talk about Norfolk, they probably think about the Norfolk Broads, or perhaps the beautiful North Norfolk coastline. Maybe it's the flat countryside or the diverse wildlife. It might even be the windmills. But there is a hidden and more ancient story to Norfolk that's left its mark on the people and on the landscape for nearly 2,000 years. Roman Norfolk.
The Romans invaded Great Britain in the year 43 AD. Britain was then under the Roman Empire 400 years, until 410 AD. According to Julius Caesar, the Britons had been overrun and culturally assimilated by other Celtic tribes by this time, including the Jutes, Saxons and the Angles, the latter lending their name to the region now known as East Anglia.
I'm setting off from Norwich in an easterly direction up towards Great Yarmouth and Caister-on-Sea. It's about 35 kilometres to the first site.
During the latter half of the 3rd century, the Roman Empire faced a grave crisis. Weakened by civil wars and increased violence from barbarian tribes at her frontiers, Rome decided upon defending her territories with fortifications. Defending seaports was also vital. A series of Saxon shore forts were constructed to secure safe harbour for shipping. One of the most important Roman documents known to the historians is known as Notitia Dignitatum, Latin for the list of offices, which is a document of the late Roman Empire detailing several thousand offices. In this document, reference is made to 9 seaports, including 2 in Norfolk.
So normally on a Sunday I'm out with my club, which is called ICENI VELO, and I was thinking about the name ICENI. Of course it actually goes back to the Iceni tribe. Now the Iceni tribe were situated here in East Anglia, in the area that we now call Norfolk, around about the 1st century BCE to the 1st century ADE. Unfortunately, not much is known about the Iceni tribe. They have left behind some archaeological evidence of gold and silver, jewellery and some coins. They were sophisticated enough to be trading and using a monetary system. Perhaps their most famous monarch was that of Queen Boudica, the warrior empress, who, of course, came into conflict with the invading Romans.
The Iceni tribe were a significant power in eastern Britain, in which they allied themselves with Rome. Increasing arguments led to a revolt in AD 47, although they remained independent under King Prasutagus. Roman encroachment after Prasutagus' death led his wife Boudica to launch a major revolt from 60 to 61 AD. Boudica was a mother of 2 girls and is famous for her stance as a woman warrior, leading her men from a chariot.
And the Icenians certainly didn't leave their mark on the landscape quite as prominently as the Romans did. Right, well, this is the first site. We're at Caister-on-Sea, just north of Great Yarmouth. And over my left shoulder here is the first of the Roman forts that's been left behind. They were built as part of a Saxon shore defence system from the Dorset coast all the way around the Kent coast, East Anglia and up to Lincolnshire. Now these might look like just a collection of old flint walls, but these actually date back nearly 2,000 years. The archaeological evidence suggests that this was a fort and it was maintained by cavalry units. This location was probably the eastern gate. Setting south from Caister, come down towards Great Yarmouth and down past the Greyhound Racing Stadium. So not many years ago, I used to work here. This is the North Deans Airfield, and I used to work for CHC, and there's probably a picture of me on the wall there. That's me flying that. That's an Augusta Western 139 helicopter. Here I am at Burgh Castle. Now I'd like to call it Burgh Castle, but I'm reliably informed that the Norfolk pronunciation is Burgh Castle. Here it is. It's a fantastically preserved Roman fort, and it's got a great history. But before I tell you a little bit about the history, let me get some water on for some lunch. So I brought my cycling essentials with me. There's my down jacket, there's my mug, and here's my stove. Got my wind protector, and of course I'm navigating on my GPS. I've also brought with me my little mini tarp, my magic carpet, which I am also reliably informed is actually a ground sheet and not a tarp, but it kind of doubles up as both, I suppose. Never leave home without my essentials, and you can check that out on another video just up here. It's a lovely day in November, sun's out, glorious, clear, dry. But I think I'll probably chill off, so I will put my down jacket on. Right, let's get this water on the go. going to have that curry for my lunch, and then I'm going to have this, a nice cappuccino sachet in my foldable mug. A bit windy, so I think I'm going to have to put up this windbreak. Right, well, while this is heating up, I'm just going to admire the view, tell you a little bit about the history of this Roman fort.
Burgh Castle is one of the best preserved Roman monuments in the country. Built in the late 3rd century AD on a low cliff above the Waveney estuary, its substantial walls are an impressive sight. Originally enclosing an area about 6 acres, the walls of the fort are around 3.5 metres wide at the base and taper to 1.5 metres at their full height of around 4.5 metres. They were further fortified at a late stage in the construction by projecting towers in bastions. Each has a central circular hull, either for anchoring catapults or to support timber watchtowers that may have been linked along the top of the walls. Today the main route into the fort is from the eastern gate. The west wall has long since tumbled into the marshes, with the result that the drama of entering the fort is increased by the panoramic view across Breydon Water. Over the centuries, the walls have been plundered for building materials, exposing the mortared flint rubble core. But they were originally faced inside and out with cut flint and tile in alternating bands. A well-preserved stretch of this facing survives along the outside of the south wall. Inside the south wall, at the northeast corner of the fort, are the remains of deep socket holes, probably the site of lean-to buildings or gantries. But other than this, little is known of the fort's interior layout. Several notable artefacts have been discovered at the location, and probably the most important was that of a cavalry helmet.
Okay, that's done. Let's get that curry out of there. And just use this hot water for the brew. Perfect. That's the brew done. Look. Not tried one of these before, but when you consider that Wayfarer meals are about £5 a pop, and this is only about £1.99 from Aldi, it'd be interesting to see what this is like. Just rip that top off. It's not too disintegrated, you know. Sometimes it can be all a bit mushy, but there's some definite lumps of vegetable there. So, God, that's good. That is spicy. God, that is really, really good. If you like curries, definitely recommend that one. That's great. I'm not sure that the centurions at this Roman fort would have been eating curry, but they would have been admiring that fantastic view. Of course, it wouldn't look like that nowadays. It's all kind of silted up, but this used to be the opening of the estuary.
This map depicts relative sea levels between 2,250 and 1,600 years ago. Access to the Great Estuary was controlled by the two Roman forts at Caister-on-Sea and Burgh Castle.
After my brew, I'm going to be setting off for my third location. It's about 40-45 kilometres from here, and it's known as Caister-St Edmunds. Right, that's lunch finished, and I'm setting off. If you fancy coming here and not on a bike, there is ample car parking just by the church. Just follow the signs as you come out of Great Yarmouth. Lots of signs indicating this fort and plenty of places to park. And as you can see, it's not too crowded, even on a weekend. The other thing of interest, which I haven't got time to really show you now, is the Angles Way, which is a long-distance footpath. And perhaps I'd like to cover that in another video sometime, but that does lead from Great Yarmouth on the southerly side of the River Yare, up Breydon Water, and it actually turns left and towards the Waveney. And there's some fantastic observation points for bird spotting just on the river edge, right by this castle. Right then folks, I've got to push on now before the sun goes down. Oh, as always happens in my videos, sun is pressing me to get this video finished. So let's go. Luckily I've made it before it's completely pitch black, but here we are, we're at Caister St Edmunds, and this is the third of the Roman locations. And although the field looks like it's nothing more than a field with a few tracks going across it and a few raised bits of ground around the edges, actually this is the site of one of the most important complete Roman villages in the country. In fact, there's only one of 3 that haven't actually been built over, and this is one of them. The name of this town was Venta Icenorum, and it dates back to 70 AD. It stretches from right over there on the left, across this open field, and just to the far side of that is the River Taise. And then over to the right flank, you've got the right fortification walls. What's quite cool about this site is they put a clear perspex up with an artist's impression of what the buildings might look like, and you can sort of look across the open field and let your imagination wander. The town had its own running water, baths and town hall, otherwise known as a basilica. Some interesting artefacts have been found here, including combs, pottery and coins. This town obviously predates Norwich and was the most important town around here in the years after it had been constructed in 70 AD. But after 200 or 300 years of use, it eventually started to fall in disrepair as the Romans left, and it was finally completely abandoned in and around the year 800 AD. Venta Icenorum. So there you have it folks, Roman Norfolk. 3 Roman settlements in Norfolk covered in one trip. I've done about 100 kilometres and I better press on now back to Norwich before it's completely dark. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumb up if you enjoy this type of thing. Consider subscribing, and until the next time, happy riding and goodbye.